I remember getting saved my senior year and going back to school. At first it was rough being around my friends and the peer pressure, but I started getting close to someone and getting discipled. And I trusted in God, and He got me through the school year. Next thing I knew, I was bringing my friends to church and telling my friends about Jesus and not being ashamed of God, but bringing God to school. And I got through it, and now I'm doing something great. Go stop. I remember being saved my senior year, going back to school, man. And at first it was rough, being around the peer pressure and all my old friends. But I remember getting close to someone and getting discipled and beginning to really get close to God. And eventually I started telling my friends about Jesus, not being ashamed of that I was saved. But I started bringing them to church, and then, yeah. Man, I remember when I got saved in high school, and at first I didn't take it so seriously. I didn't take God seriously. I was still trying to party. I was still trying to mess around and sell drugs. But eventually God started doing something in my life, and I started getting serious towards the end of my senior year. And I started telling my friends about Jesus and what He can do in their lives. And I wasn't ashamed anymore, but because God did something in my life, and stuff. I remember getting saved the beginning of my senior year, and I was working for this reputation my whole hold on. Better we stay the same. Ready, go.
1, 2, 3, and loud. The way did you, once you feel yourself forgetting, just end it, and I was unashamed. Bam, that's it. Because then if you keep going, it's just 1, 2.
I remember getting saved the beginning of my senior year, and man, not taking it serious, but I was still messing around with the same friends, messing with girls and selling drugs. But towards this end of my senior year, I remember getting serious for God and telling my friends about Jesus. I brought them to church, and I remember not being ashamed, not being ashamed.
I remember when I was in high school, I thought life was all about partying and drinking. But I remember my senior year, when I got saved, I was unashamed to tell my friends about what God did in my life.
I remember getting saved the beginning of my senior year, and remember not taking it so serious, but I was still selling drugs and messing around with girls. And eventually, towards the end of my senior year, I remember getting serious for God, and I began to witness to my friends and tell them what God can do in their lives. And eventually, they came to church with me, and I remember that I wasn't ashamed anymore because God did something great in my life.
I remember getting saved my junior year in high school. At first it wasn't easy, but once I began to let my guard down and let God lead me, I began to notice the influence I had in my friend's life. And I encourage you, sophomores, freshmen, get saved now. Let God use you now, and you'll notice the purpose He has for your life. I remember getting saved my junior year in high school. At first it wasn't easy, but when I let my guard down and let God lead me, I began to notice the influence I had in my friends' lives. And I encourage you, if you're a sophomore, if you're a freshman, let God use you now, and you'll see the purpose He has in your life. Don't be afraid to be unashamed.
I remember being saved when I was in high school. Started off freshman, junior year. I remember being saved in my freshman and sophomore year, and it wasn't easy because I'm coming out of middle school, but I remember just not getting tired of what people thought. Getting tired of people thinking I was gay because I didn't mess with that girl. I was gay because I didn't talk to so and so. But God did something to me, man, and I was unashamed for Him. I was unashamed bringing everybody I could to church. The gays, the straights, the guys, the girls, anybody, picking them up, being unashamed of the gospel. I remember being saved in high school, about senior cut. I remember being saved about my freshman year and sophomore year in high school, and people thinking certain things because I ain't talked to certain girls, and thinking things about me, thinking I was a punk, thinking I should be doing this because I'm a handsome guy, and because I remember being saved in high school, my freshman and sophomore year. It wasn't easy. I had friends that weren't saved going into high school, friends that I couldn't hang out with, and friends that I did hang out with that was... I remember being 14 or 15 years old, being saved in high school, and it wasn't easy. I would do certain things, but still going to church and being unashamed, bringing people, my friends, all the friends I ever had, bringing them and going in a car to bring them to church, and not being ashamed of the gospel. And you shouldn't be ashamed of the gospel either. I remember being 14 or 15 years old, being saved in high school. It wasn't easy, I was fasting and praying and waking up early in the morning and praying. All my friends thought I was a punk. I didn't want to talk to this girl. I wouldn't talk to that girl. And it wasn't easy, but I was not ashamed to preach the gospel. I was not ashamed to bring my friend to church, bring this girl to church, because God did something in my life that left me unashamed